Very good morning, students. As we promised in the last class, that we shall go with the brief storage of the different scenes of Macbeth. We shall also discuss the importance of the scenes. What is their dramatic significance and what is their role in the developing the story of the play. So let's start the first scene of Macbeth. I think you have also gone through it and you have seen that the first scene is a very small scene. It's not a big scene. What we see that there are the three witches who meet on a lonely heath, on a lonely place, where they plan to meet Macbeth. Macbeth, who is fighting for King Duncan against the external army as well as the internal rebellions. And after getting the victory, Macbeth is returning from the battle. So these three witches plan to meet Macbeth. Here, what is the important thing in this scene is the words that have been spoken by the three witches. The last line of this scene, and that is actually the creed of the witches. Witches are the supernatural elements. We might not believe in them, but they are there. So their presence in the very beginning of the play show that they are going to have an important interference in the play. They are going to make their greater role in the play. So let me tell you what was the last sentence of this scene, or the last words that have been spoken by these three witches. Fair is fall, fall is fair. So this is the creed of supernatural elements. This is the creed of the three witches. We should understand the meaning of this line, this dialogue. And the meaning of this line is that what is fair is fall for the witches, and what is fall for others is fair for witches. So whatever is happening with the human being as fair, as beautiful, as good, that is bad for the evils, that is bad for the witches. Whereas what is going to be happen, evils or bad for human being, is in fact the good or the fair or the beautiful for the supernatural elements or the witches. So in this way, you see that the first scene of the first act of this play has a very significant importance in the development of the story. That is the real exposition of the play starts here. I think it is now very much clear to us. We also get the idea from this scene that these evil spirits have a bad intention in their mind and they are going to meet Macbeth. It means they are going to cheat Macbeth. Something wrong, something bad is going to happen upon Macbeth. And Macbeth is going to become the object of it. So, the beginning scene is very important and we must read it very seriously. Now come to the scene second of the play. Where does this scene begin? This scene begins in a camp near Forres. King Duncan with his two sons, Malcolm and Donenwin, is waiting for the latest news from the battlefield. He is in the camp. He is not actually taking part in the battle. He is not personally taking part in the battle. So, this is also the important fact of this play, that King Duncan doesn't have courage or enough bravery to face the battle. He has trust upon his soldiers, upon his warriors, upon his generals and lieutenants. So, at that moment, when they were waiting, a sergeant or a soldier who was bleeding appears there. He comes from the battlefield and he informs the king Duncan that Macbeth and Banquo are fighting very bravely in the war against MacDonald, who is the rebellion, and also against the Norwegian troop who was helping MacDonald. So we also get informed by this sergeant that MacDonald has been killed. MacDonald was the Thane of Cawdor at King Duncan, but he rebelled against King Duncan. Then the sergeant goes out and Ross enters there with the latest information, and he tells King Duncan that the Thane of Cawdor, that is MacDonald, has been defeated and the troops of Norway or the King of Norway who came there to help MacDonald has also been defeated by our brave Lieutenant and General Banquo and Macbeth. He also appreciates, he also speaks the words of praises for Macbeth. He mentions, he describes how Macbeth fought bravely and courageously. Hearing the words or the latest news from Ross, King Duncan is very much pleased. He becomes very much pleased and he announces, declares that the Thane, Macbeth will be the Thane of Cawdor at his court. That is, he confers the title of the Thane of Gowder to Macbeth after hearing the bravery of Macbeth. He also then sends Rose that please go and tell Macbeth or inform Macbeth that the title of the Thane of Gowder has been given to him by King Duncan, and the King Duncan is very much pleased with him. So these are the incidents, or these are the events that take place in the scene 2 of this play. Now let us see the importance of this scene. So the importance of this scene is that we come to know that King Duncan is here attacked by two sides. From the within side, that is the rebellions are there, and from the exterior or the outside side, that is from the Norwegian troops or the king of the Norway. So he is definitely in a danger. Or we also understand that in this way Scotland is in a very dangerous condition, in a powerless condition. Macbeth and Banquo are only the two noblemen or two generals who are the strong supporters of King Duncan. And the success of King Duncan also depends upon mainly Macbeth and Banquo, and especially on Macbeth. On the other hand, we also, as I told you, we also come to know that Duncan himself is absent from the battle, and this suggests that he is not capable to cope with the situation. And in this way, this scene is very important in the sense that it tells us the best side of Macbeth. We get the best idea or the positive idea or the admiration in our heart for Macbeth. So here the audience are filled with admiration for Macbeth. In this way, the scene second is over, and now we come to the scene third. I think you are following very much the brief story as well as the importance and the significance of the scene. I would like to say that if you are very much attentive and very much alert or serious while reading the Act 1 and the Act 2 of this play, you will be able to understand this play in a better way forever. So now let's see what is there in scene third. The scene third, as we have the idea in the very beginning of the play, in the very first scene, that the three witches meet on a lonely place, that is the heath, in order to meet Macbeth. So now here in this scene, in the scene third, these three witches again meet on a heath according to their previous plan. They talk about their supernatural powers. They also dance in order to enhance their supernatural powers. They are very old, they look very ugly, they had long flowing beards, so anyone can get the idea from their appearance that they are the symbol of the evils. And we also have the information from the previous two scenes that Macbeth and Banquo are returning from the battlefields after a great victory. So when Macbeth and Banquo approaches there, these three witches begin to dance. So when they are dancing, what we see that Banquo sees them first of all. Here the important point is that we have in the dramatic significance of this scene, that Macbeth doesn't see these three witches first. It is Banquo who sees these three witches first. And he expresses his wonder, his surprise, and he speaks about their figures and their dresses. What kind of creatures are they? So then we see when they see Macbeth and Banquo see these three witches welcome Macbeth and they hail Macbeth, they greet Macbeth with three predictions. They speak about the future of Macbeth. And what are the predictions that have been made by these three witches, or how they greeted Macbeth? Number one, they hailed Macbeth with the Thane of Glamis. And the second prediction was that the Thane of Cawdor. Hail Macbeth, Thane of the Cawdor. And the third prediction, hail Macbeth, you shall be the king hereafter. So these three are the predictions made by these witches. They declare, after being asked by Banquo, because earlier it was spoken only for Macbeth. So Banquo also shows his curiosity about his future. So they also predict about Banquo. And what they say? They say that Banquo, you will be less than Macbeth, but greater. They also say that you will be the father of the king, but you himself will never be a king. So these were the prophecies, these were the predictions, these were the words spoken by these three witches to Macbeth and Banquo. Macbeth wonders at hearing these words from three witches, and then he again speaks to them to tell him something more about his future. But what we see, that these three witches disappears. They vanished. Banquo in his mind feels envy of Macbeth's fortune. So he also tells Macbeth that we should not trust upon these supernatural evils. We should never trust upon them, because these, what he says, he says that these are the bubbles on the earth. These are nothing. They appear and they disappear. So, Banquo here we will find is in a realistic condition, whereas Macbeth is instigated by these prophecies, and his idea, which was already rooted in his mind to become the king of Scotland, is boosted, is motivated. So, at that time, Ross and Angus appears there. They are coming from the king, and we knew very well that king had already announced or declared Macbeth as the Thane of Cawdor. So, having this information, they come to Macbeth and Banquo, and when they meet, they speak, they tell Macbeth that King Duncan is very much pleased and he has conferred the title of the Thane of Cawdor upon Macbeth. So, hearing these words from Ross and Angus, Macbeth is very much pleased and he lost in thoughts, and he thought that his two prophecies have come true. What the three witches spoke about him now is becoming true. So, 2 out of 3 have become true. So, he hopes for the next one also. And Banquo, when he sees Macbeth lost in thoughts, he warns Macbeth that please don't trust in these supernatural things. They are the evils. So, we must not trust in their prophecies. So, in this way, here we see that Macbeth is lost in the horrified thoughts. Macbeth, as we know, that very ambitious, and the idea of becoming the king of Scotland is already there in his mind. So now he thinks that he can become the king of Scotland if he kills Duncan. So this mischievous or this drastic idea developed in the mind of Macbeth as soon as he heard the news from King Duncan that he has been made the Thane of Cawdor. So, this is the scene third, or the summary of scene third. And here, one thing that I would like to tell you, because that is very much important in this scene, that is the first words spoken by Macbeth, or the entry when Macbeth enters in this play. What are the first words spoken by him? And they are there in this third scene. And what are they? What are they? They are that we have read as well as heard. So fall and a fair day I have never seen. These are the first words of Macbeth. These words echo. We have seen, we have read. These words echo with the words of three witches in the very first or in the very beginning scene. What they said? They said, Fair is fall and fall is fair. So let's see the meaning of these words spoken by Macbeth. Ki so fall and a fair day I have never seen. So fall, the day was very fall. The day was very bad. Why? Because the day was very stormy. There was a heavy rainfall. So the surface meaning is, the outer meaning, appearing meaning is that the day was very difficult. The day was very bad from the weather point of view. And a fair day. Fair means beautiful, good day. So the day from the weather point of view was very bad. But another point of view, it was beautiful for Macbeth. It was good for Macbeth because Macbeth had won the battle. So the day was bad as well as good. It was bad in the sense of weather, and it was good in the sense that Macbeth had won the battle. So this is what we see in these lines, or in these first words of Macbeth spoken in this scene. We also can refer the meaning of these words, that fair is going to be there to Macbeth. And what is the fair? The fair is that he has now been made the Thane of Cawdor. The king is very much pleased with him. So now he is the Thane of Cawdor. But what is wrong there? The wrong is that King Duncan's fall day has been started. Something wrong is going to happen to King Duncan. That we know. That the idea of murdering King Duncan has now been rooted in the mind of Macbeth. So it was a fall day. It was a bad day for the King Duncan as well as good day for Macbeth. So from this line point of view, this scene is very much important. This scene is also called the temptation scene. Temptation, Macbeth is here tempted by these three witches. They tempt him. They speak about his past, about his present, about his future. That he is the Thane of Glamis, that he is the Thane of Cawdor now, and he will be the king hereafter. So the prophecies made by the three witches are going to tempt Macbeth. We are also here acquainted these three witches, which we saw in the very beginning scene of this play also. We also come to know that Macbeth has already fixed his ambition on the throne. Another point of view, we also come to know, when we discuss or when we analyze the character of Macbeth and Banquo from this scene, what we see, the contrast between Macbeth and Banquo's character. No doubt both of them are very brave. One is the general, another is the lieutenant. They fought very bravely. But there is difference of moral nature. There is difference of moral nature of these two. Macbeth believes in three witches in supernaturals as well as, but Banco doesn't believe in them. He calls them the bubbles of the earth. He also warns Macbeth that please don't trust upon these bubbles. They appear on the earth and they disappear. Another point that we see that Macbeth regrets when these three witches depart. When they disappear, Macbeth regrets because he wants to know much more from them about his future. It means he is tempted by these three witches, whereas Banquo is not. We also see that Macbeth is instigated by the thought or by the words told by these three witches for his future, and the guilty thoughts enters into his mind. Whereas Banquo doesn't worry about the words spoken by the three weird sisters. So in this way, we have a strong contrast in the attitude of both the generals regarding the three witches or towards the witches that are there in this scene. So in this way, from scene 1 to 3, we have come to know how the story now moves ahead, or we get the little idea about the play or about the story, what might happen or what is going to happen in this story. So dear students, this is what we have today for our summary or for our brief of these three scenes as well as their importance. If you have any questions, you can ask at any time in the classroom as well as outside the classroom. Also you can discuss. You can also discuss at my mobile, at my phone, at my number, whenever you feel free. You feel free to discuss with me.